There is a saying that you should never wake a sleeping baby, but it isn't always the best advice. Following it too strictly can lead to a variety of sleep problems and in some situations pose various safety risks. But it's a fine line. Obviously, you don't want to wake a sleeping baby if you don't have to. So let's talk about 5 specific situations when your baby is under 6 months of age when you should wake them up. The first big reason is if your baby has fallen asleep in a bouncer, rocker, glider, or car seat after the car ride is over. Now believe me, I know how challenging this can be. We all want our babies to sleep. But when your baby falls asleep in these items, they're at higher risk of suffocation. And here's what happens. When your baby lies in these seats, they are positioned at an angle, and if they fall asleep, their head can tilt forward, causing their chin to press down onto their chest, and this position can block their airway, preventing proper airflow into and out of their lungs. It's similar to trying to breathe through a pinched straw. The air just can't flow properly. This dangerous situation is referred to as positional asphyxiation, and the really scary part is that asphyxiation is silent and not always noticeable. A baby having trouble breathing might not show clear signs of distress. That means even if you're right there in the room watching your baby while they sleep in one of these devices, you might not notice anything's wrong until it's too late. So if your baby ends up falling asleep in any of these items, gently wake them up or try to move them to a safe sleep space, like a crib or a bassinet with a firm, flat mattress where they can safely finish their nap. The next scenario is if your baby's under 6 weeks old and it's time for a daytime feed. Newborns have small stomachs and need to feed often. Usually they wake every 3 to 4 hours because they're hungry. But let's say your newborn is having a really good sleep during the day and it's been over 4 hours since their last feed. In that case, it might be a good idea to gently wake them up and offer a feed. However, once your baby starts gaining enough weight and breastfeeding without any issues, your pediatrician might suggest a different approach. They may say that it's alright to let your baby sleep for longer periods and wait for them to naturally wake up before you offer them a feed. This usually happens after the first few weeks when babies have developed a good feeding routine and are gaining weight steadily. The third scenario is if your baby is over 6 weeks of age and is staying awake for hours at a time each and every night. Now, it's quite common for infants under 6 weeks old to experience prolonged periods of wakefulness at night. And this occurs because their circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock that tells us to be alert during the day and sleepy when it's dark, is not fully developed yet. So they simply don't understand that nighttime is for sleeping, and that's why they're awake when you expect them to be asleep. However, when they reach 6 weeks of age, their circadian rhythm starts to mature and have a greater influence on their sleep-wake cycle, and this change usually results in more sleep during the nighttime hours. So if your baby's older than 6 weeks of age and naps a lot during the day but stays awake for hours at night, it's time to adjust their nap schedule, and this is why. Everyone needs a certain amount of sleep each day. For adults, it's about 7 to 9 hours, but babies need more sleep because they're growing. Babies who are 0 to 3 months of age need about 14 to 17 hours of sleep in total every day, and babies between 4 to 11 months of age need around 12 to 15 hours. And unfortunately, these hours include both nighttime sleep and daytime naps. And this is where the problem lies. For instance, if your 2-month-old baby takes 8 hours of naps during the day, they will only need approximately 6 to 9 hours of sleep at night to meet their daily sleep requirement of 14 to 17 hours. This means if bedtime is at 10 p.m, there's a good chance they'll be awake and ready to play at 4 a.m. So if your baby takes long daytime naps and stays up all night, try waking them up from their naps. By reducing the length of your baby's daytime naps, you can make sure that your baby doesn't sleep too much during the day, and as a result, they're going to be more likely to sleep better and longer at night. Now, to figure out how long your baby's nap should be, you need to understand their sleep requirements based on their ages. This includes how much total sleep they need, how many naps they should take, and how long they should stay awake between naps. If you'd like some help with that, I have a free chart that shows the number of naps and how long they should be based on their age, and you can download that by clicking the link below this video. The fourth scenario is if your baby is older than 6 weeks and it's time to start the day. As I just mentioned, at around 6 weeks, your baby's circadian rhythm starts to kick into gear. And one way you can help the maturation of your baby's circadian rhythm is by waking them up within the same 30-minute window every morning and exposing them to some sunlight. This is key because everyone's circadian rhythm runs a little longer than a day and needs to be reset every morning so we stay in sync. The best way to do this is with sunlight. Sunlight is like a natural alarm clock for our bodies. It tells our brain that it's a new day. So by waking your baby around the same time each morning and getting them into the sunlight, you're teaching their internal clock that it's time to start the day. And over time, this will help your baby develop a natural pattern of sleeping mostly at night and being more awake during the day. The fifth situation is if your baby is 4 months of age and their last nap of the day is having an impact on their bedtime. When your baby is 4 months of age, you will notice they start falling asleep at the same time every night. But if that last nap of the day happens too late, this regular bedtime routine can be disrupted. And this is because babies, like adults, need to be awake for a certain period of time before they are sleepy enough to fall asleep. For babies between 4 to 6 months of age, they typically need to be awake for 2 to 2.5 hours before they're ready to go back to sleep. And this is why if your baby's last nap of the day ends less than 2 hours before their normal bedtime, it's very unlikely that they're going to feel tired enough to go to sleep as planned. For instance, if your 4-month-old baby's last nap of the day ends at 7 p.m. and their bedtime is usually at 8 p.m., when 8 p.m. comes around, your baby has only been awake for an hour. Therefore, it's likely that they're going to be too awake to fall asleep at bedtime because they simply haven't been awake long enough to feel tired and sleepy. So if you notice that your baby's last nap of the day is finishing too close to their bedtime and causing some bedtime resistance, you may need to try waking them up a little earlier from that nap. This way they'll have enough awake time to feel sleepy again when it's time to go to bed. Another common struggle for parents with babies under 6 months of age is cat naps, and this is where babies only nap for 20 to 40 minutes at a time throughout the day. This can be challenging and exhausting for everyone. However, there are some strategies and techniques that you can use to make this cat napping stage more manageable and to encourage longer naps. In this video, you'll find some helpful tips and gentle steps that you can implement today to create a more conducive environment for longer naps and better sleep for your baby. By following these suggestions, you can improve the quality and duration of your baby's naps, providing them with the rest they need for healthy development.